I was in Calcutta recently, and one of the things my family and I like to do when we get together is eat. Calcutta is one of the greatest food cities of the world, and the cuisines you can get range from traditional Bengali to Anglo-Indian to Mughlai. So, one afternoon we decided to head over to Dakers Lane to explore all of the different street food vendors. Dakers Lane is a long, narrow street with street food vendors filling every inch possible. The food you get here ranges from chicken stew to cutting chai. You'll see a variety of tiny shops selling a variety of items that'll tantalize your senses. This street gets a lot of foot traffic and an occasional car or rickshaw. You'll see office goers in their formal wear stopping for a much-needed lunch break, and you'll see people like us who are there to taste the 100-year-old chicken stew that the lane is famous for. This 100-year-old chicken stew is sold by a shop known as Chitto Babur Dokan. The owner tells us that his shop is world famous and he gets people from all over to come and taste his chicken stew as well as all the other delicious offerings he shares. It was one of the busiest times in Dakers Lane when we were there. It was lunch rush hour. However, the warmth and hospitality that we received from all the shop owners made the experience one that's going to be etched in my memory forever. Anyway, enough about the history. Let's dive into the food. The first thing we ate as we entered Dakers Lane is fish fry. Everyone in Calcutta loves fish fry. It's essentially a deep-fried fish cutlet. This was probably our 5th fish fry of the trip, but we couldn't resist it. The golden, beautiful exterior and the familiar smell of deep-fried fish tempted us to walk towards the store to see what was happening. There were a variety of fried items, including our regular fish fry, which is what we got, a diamond fish fry, which is apparently more mildly spiced than the regular fish fry, and some boneless chicken cutlet. The smells, the sights, and the sounds were so tempting that we had to get our fish fry as soon as possible. The fish fry is cooked to perfection with a crisp exterior and juicy, steaming, flaky fish interior. Fish fry is always served with kashundi, which is a Bengali mustard. It's pungent and tangy, and it makes for a perfect accompaniment to anything deep fried, especially fish fry. Calcutta fish fry is incomplete without these accompaniments. The next thing we ate was the chicken stew, and that was the main event of our trip. We came to Dakers Lane to try Chitto Babu's chicken stew and see what all the hype was about. The dish is really simple. Good quality local chicken cooked with carrots and raw papaya in its own juices and some fragrant spices. The dish is very mildly spiced, but there is an intense chicken flavor and it's full of goodness. This stew is a perfect everyday lunch for all the office goers that like to come to Dakers Lane for an exciting lunch at a reasonable price. The chicken stew is served with 2 thick slices of local bread that's perfectly toasted over a coal fire. The smoky charred flavor of the toast complements the subtle broth of the chicken stew perfectly. My favorite part was dipping this soft white bread into the flavorful chicken broth, and it's the perfect vehicle that soaks up all of the goodness of the soup. Sitting along these narrow lanes of Dakers Lane while enjoying this piping hot chicken stew is an experience that all the Dutts thoroughly enjoyed. Now that we were done with main course, we needed a little break and a pick-me-up before dessert. So obviously we went for the chai. The chai here is famous, and everybody you see around Dakers Lane is walking around with a tiny cup of chai. The chai here is made slightly differently. They add a lot more tea leaves than usual, and it's cooked on a coal fire, which means that it has a smoky flavor, and the flavor of the tea is intense and slightly bitter. This slight bitterness perfectly complements the sweetness of the chai. They don't add any other spices to this chai because the intensity and the aroma of the tea leaves is enough. I really wanted more buttery toast to dip into my chai, but I wanted to save room for dessert. It was finally time for dessert, and the shop we went to had a variety of different things to choose from. In fact, the options were a little bit overwhelming. The variety of dishes that they were serving was incredible, and the quality of the ingredients was evident. We couldn't decide what we wanted, so we got an assortment. We started with carrot halwa. It's a dish made of carrots, ghee, sugar, and milk, and it's something I've made on my channel before. Next, we moved on to rabri. It's one of my favorite desserts, and it's essentially whole fat milk that's cooked for a really long time till it's reduced to about a third of its volume. And then it's sweetened and flavored with some ground cardamom. It was so delicious. And lastly, but definitely not the least, was a mawa dessert, which is essentially milk solids that are flavored with some ground cardamom and sugar. This was my favorite dessert. It was such a simple dessert with minimal ingredients, but there was a complex dairy flavor that took the whole eating experience to the next level. If I had to pick a favorite, I would go for the fish fry. It was crisp and steaming and flaky and delicious. And I love dipping it into kashundi, or the Bengali mustard. Which dish was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Like the video and subscribe to my channel if you want to dive into the depths of Indian cuisine and culture.